Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Market Insights with Linux, and welcome to this new video right here, where I have to do this. There we go. And welcome to this weekly update on this new series I'm starting, which is kind of like a stocks watch list. I'm not sure how I'm going to call it yet, but what we're basically going to do in this video is we'll talk about next week. And I'll first of all start with a bit of an outlook for next week, right? So what to expect. And what is important, and then we'll talk about a couple of stocks, specific stocks that I think are interesting, and I will also update some of the ones I've named before. So last week we named Alibaba, which has done relatively well, although I must say we haven't retested the level I wanted it to retest, so I have not taken a position in this. Boeing, which is at a major resistance level so far, it's not breaking out, and it's going to be tough, but we'll talk about that. And Micron Technology, which is doing incredibly well and is closing in on a breakout, which I think is going to be very interesting to see how it reacts there. But okay, that's what we'll do when we're talking about next week. Look, we had some major data coming out last week, Friday. It's going to be crucial next week, especially during the start, to see how the market reacts to that, right? So the main thing I think you should be watching is the volatility index. Which, as most of you know, that's basically just how much unrest there is in the markets. As you can see, we had a bit of a spike Friday that has decreased. I expect this to decrease even more, which is good, but that is something we do need to see, right? We do need to see some confirmation of that, so that we're not going to get continued recession fears, which would not be amazing. And then when we're talking about the economic calendar, we have some major data coming out on Thursday with the CPI and inflation rate data. That matters a lot. We want to see lower than expected data, of course, but especially in light of the recent data we had last week. All right, so talking about some specific stocks. I still think Micron Technology, so that's MU, is definitely one to watch. We're at resistance right now. Personally, I would say that's not a great buy. If we're able to get some sort of a high time frame close above that, that could be interesting, but I'll keep you updated on that. Alibaba, I'm bullish on Alibaba, especially after the news that we had last week. Not the previous week, but the week before on Friday. But I would still say in terms of an entry, some sort of a pullback into $128 and $125 is still maybe a little bit of a greedy entry from me, but still very interesting. So when we're talking about new stocks, there's two I wanted to talk about. One I wanted to talk about regarding its technical situation, and that is Shopify. Shopify, if you take a look at the 3-day time frame right here, has been incredibly bullish, and there's no reason for me to suspect at this point of time that we are going to stop that. We had a lot of momentum going into May, and that has continued over the course of August as well, resulting in a breakout right here above $120 and $130, which was major resistance all the way from December until July 2025, December 2024, July 2025. Now, first of all, I think this is a great company. The financials are great. There's growth. They're innovating in their own way. So I expect this uptrend to continue. But then the next main price target is around $170. And there I think it gets very interesting, because what you see there is that is the all-time high. All right. And I can tell you something about chart setups and technical setups. And I can tell you one thing I've seen a lot is that if you have a top, which we have right here, and then a downtrend, then a consolidation, which I think we had right there, and then a new uptrend, and we actually get back up to the previous highs, unless we have some very bad news coming in, usually we break up higher, right? So this is definitely more of a long-term trade, and I also don't think you should enter right now. I think the ideal entry is again, the greedy entry around $132, $125, but this is definitely a stock to watch for the medium to long term, and also definitely one to watch for great entries, right? So if we actually do have a dip, I think this is one of the stocks that will and can actually do very, very well. Now, one stock that has had some great news is Robinhood. Now, Robinhood has done incredibly well this year, all right? Since the dip in April, with all the tariffs, etc., we're up 210%. So again, would I buy this right now? Not necessarily. And there's another reason why I would not buy this right now, and that is that they got added to the S&P 500. Now, you might say, oh, that's amazing news, and it is. However, we've seen some reports that insiders and C-class executives are selling stocks, which I 100% understand, to be fair. I mean, after the rise we have right here, So fundamentally, this is still an amazing stock, right? And fundamentally and technically, like fundamentally, especially given the news that they're included in the S&P 500 from, I think, September the 24th, that's great news. But I think that the news right now serves a little bit more as a sell the news event. So I think that there's some great opportunities to catch some dips. And then the main area where I'm looking at right now to potentially buy back into Robinhood is right here between $90 and $80. It's a very wide level, so let's keep it at $87, $85 as an area. That, but also potentially lower towards this level right here towards $70. Although I think under the current circumstances, under the current fundamentals, I think $70 is too low and that's not going to be given. But 85, 86, 87 looks like a great buy area. I expect some sort of a sell the news dump before a continuation up higher. The financials for Robinhood are, by the way, also insane, especially if you take a look at the Q2 numbers. But that's my weekly outlook for now. We'll talk a little bit about what to expect next week. We talked about some stock picks for this week, and a little bit more long term as well, but it's difficult to find stocks for every single week that will be interesting that week, of course. I'll keep you updated if you're interested in more stock analyses, but also a continuation of this series. Let me know. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and bye.